blue, red, green. 3 colors that seem quite meaningless, but at the end of the day, they are crucial. Because these 3 simple colors led me and my editor to realize something that we hadn't before. Something that changes everything. All of a sudden, it makes some things a lot more clear about the stuff seen in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Especially the latter. We came to this eureka moment during the most recent gameplay demo, and ever since then, everything changed. So what do these colors mean? And how did it change our minds on a lot of the lore seen in the most recent Zelda games? Well, let's look into it all, because I bet most of you are quite curious what I'm talking about. So you know what? Let's dive right in. Here we are, Kakariko Village. This is a place that most of us are familiar with after playing Breath of the Wild for hours upon hours. And this is where our story starts, because here the Sheikah live, who are known as the Shadow Folk. They are a mysterious and secretive tribe with pointed ears, red eyes, and shadowy magic abilities. For centuries, they have been the chosen guardians of the goddess Hylia, and were sent to be protectors and guides of the descendants of her mortal incarnation, protecting her during the beginning of it all in Skyward Sword, saving her in one of the most heated moments in Hylian history during Ocarina of Time, and even in the more recent Switch titles, they are once again crucial in the fight against Ganon. They are known to excel in mobility and jumping, and specialize in hand-to-hand combat. And that isn't all. They have enhanced their technical abilities with a variety of research, and created tools unique to their tribe, with the Sheikah technology being their greatest achievement so far. We had never seen robots as complex as the Guardians or Divine Beasts before. In Breath of the Wild, they are described as an advanced civilization whose power and wisdom had saved the land of Hyrule multiple times, even saving them from the Great Calamity, due to their mighty machines being able to defeat Ganondorf along with Hyrule's army. And so they were hailed as heroes, because their wisdom saved the world from utter demise. Now this is where our first color comes in, blue. This represents the Sheikah tribe living in Kakariko Village. Their technology is blue, and they are wise, which fits with the triforce piece of wisdom. And so all of this represents the goddess Nehru. She's the source of the fundamental laws that govern the realm of Hyrule, and according to lore from Ocarina of Time, she poured her wisdom onto the earth and gave the spirit of law to the world. So, just like the Sheikah from Kakariko Village, she represents law and order in many ways, and is also wise, which means that this specific Sheikah tribe represents the goddess Nehru, as well as the triforce piece of wisdom. However, while they possessed these traits and were hailed as heroes in this story, something happened after this that changed everything. The technology they made saved the world, and almost every race in the world of Hyrule had heard about this tale. But at some point, fear started to set in. These immense machines that could turn an entire army into ash in mere seconds were viewed as a threat to the kingdom. And in Breath of the Wild, we saw that this could actually go wrong, with Calamity Ganon actually possessing these machines and using them to destroy anything in sight. And so the people as well as the royal family became scared of what could happen if the Sheikah turned against the people they swore to protect, or if the machines malfunctioned in any way. And so the Sheikah were exiled, and they were forced to ditch their technology. And due to this, they started to live normal lives, as we can see in Kakariko Village. But then, their greatest fear became reality. Some of the Sheikah fostered a hatred towards the kingdom that shunned them. They made machines that changed the world and saved Hyrule from utter destruction, yet they were the ones who had to change and give in. And so they swore allegiance to Calamity Ganon, the embodiment of evil. They banded together and formed a militant group known as the Yiga. Now their sole mission was to eliminate all who stood against Ganon, and in the end, they were driven by 2 simple emotions. Anger, due to being betrayed by the royal family as well as the people of Hyrule, and greed, because they want more and more power and were unwilling to abandon any they had obtained. At the end of the day, their belief beliefs and ideas align perfectly with the most evil being in the Zelda universe, Ganondorf. And so, to achieve their goals, they started hiding in the shadows and created the base known as the Yiga clan hideout, which can be found in the Gerudo region up north through the Karusa Valley. From here, they launched attacks on Link, who tried to stop Ganon, and they also stole resources from the local Gerudo settlements. Now this is where our second color comes in, red. This represents the Yiga tribe, with their magic as well as outfits being red, and their emotions being led by anger and greed, which fits with the Triforce piece of power. And so this represents the goddess Din. She created the land of Hyrule and represents power. And according to lore from Ocarina of Time, she, with her strong flaming arms, cultivated the land and created the Red Earth. So just like the Yiga from the hideout, she represents power and raw emotions like greed and anger. Which means that this specific Sheikah tribe represents the goddess Din, as well as the Triforce piece of power. I mean, they even align with Ganon, who also represents the Triforce piece of power in almost every Zelda game known to mankind. Now, for a long time, people thought that this is where the story of the Sheikah tribes ended, with a yin and yang relationship between the two, with the Sheikah from Kakariko Village embodying the light and good of mankind, while the Yiga from the Gerudo Desert embody the dark and evil traits of mankind. However, there's actually a third one, a Sheikah tribe that no one has ever heard of, that will play a significant role in Tears of the Kingdom. Now here we are, in the wild jungles of the Faron region in Hyrule, where many ruins of a lost tribe can be found. They are known as the Zonai, and while they were quite irrelevant in Breath of the Wild, due to the sequel, they are a hot topic now. But very little is actually known about them. However, I bet in Tears of the Kingdom we will find out a whole lot more. Now the only things that are known at this point in time is that they were a savage, warlike tribe from the Faron region. They are strong magic wielders and are thought to have worshipped a water dragon, and their stone artwork represents the Triforce through the perspective of a prehistoric tribe, because interestingly enough, they use dragons to represent courage, owls to represent wisdom, and boars to represent power. And etched into the stoneworks associated with this tribe is a spiral symbol, which is considered to be the tribe's crest, which we have seen a lot since Tears of the Kingdom, with Nintendo hinting at the fact that this tribe will play a big role in the new title. And they did this by showing off ancient cave paintings telling their story in trailers, as well as their ancient technology that we saw in the most recent gameplay demo. And this is where our last color comes in, green. This represents the Zonai tribe with their magic as well as territory being green, and their philosophy of being brave warriors with lots of courage. And so they represent the goddess Faeror, who's the source of all life that exists within the Hyrulean realm. And according to lore from Ocarina of Time, she, with her rich soul, produced all life forms who would uphold the law. So, just like the Zonai who live in the most dense forests in Hyrule, she represents courage, life, and honor. Which means that this specific Sheikah tribe represents the goddess Faeror, as well as the Triforce piece of courage. I mean, they even worship a dragon, which represented the Triforce piece of courage for them. So really, it's a perfect fit. And so the Zonai are the third Sheikah tribe that we never, ever knew about, hidden away in the rainforests of Hyrule. And if you look at the logos of all the different tribes, you can see that all of them are Sheikah-like, mostly using eyes. But at some point, the Zonai just disappeared. But why is that? Well, it could be because of similar reasons to what the Yiga did. When the people told them 10,000 years ago to live a normal life or be exiled, they chose to leave. And instead of becoming bitter, they just cut themselves out of the picture completely by moving to the skies above and caves below, using their magic to achieve this goal, all while constructing new robots of their own to protect their own realms, which is actually something we've seen other races do in the series before, like the Minish, and doing this would have certain advantages as well. It would allow them to be closer to the gods. Now, as we all know, the Yiga became evil while the Sheikah from Kakariko Village remained loyal to the royal family. But what about the Zonai Sheikah? Well, from the illustrations seen on the wall in one of the trailers, it seems like they were on the side of good. You can can see Ganon's army and Malice wash over Hyrule, while what looks like Zonai are fighting them, which shows that they most likely weren't on the side of Ganon like the Yiga. Heck, we can even see in the trailer that green Zonai hand that imprisoned Ganon, so I bet they were key, and it could even be that this played a role in them disappearing all those years ago. Maybe only a few survived and then moved to the heavens, leaving their old ruined civilization behind, which could have also been a safety precaution with Ganon being locked up below. And while some in Hyrule describe them as savages, we know that Hylians know very little about them. They can't even read their writings, so personally I think the Hylians have a very flawed view of the Zonai. However, what could all of this mean for Tears of the Kingdom? Sure, there are 3 Sheikah tribes with each one representing a piece of the triforce, but what kind of role will this play in the game? Well, I think it will play a big role in one specific section of the story, especially because Nintendo is pushing it so hard: the Master Sword. Now, in the trailer of Tears of the Kingdom, we can see that the Master Sword will be seen in it. However, as we can clearly see in some of the trailers, the sword's blade is shown to be jagged and damaged, which most likely happened due to Ganondorf, the one true evil, touching the blade, which is something that is never supposed to happen. In Ocarina of Time and other Zelda games as well, many important characters like the sages tell Link again and again, evil may never touch it, which is something that most likely happened in Tears of the Kingdom when Link and Zelda went underground to find the source of the malice. I mean, that's also why his entire arm looks burnt after all. It was destroyed by malice. And it could even be that Ganondorf did this to draw power from the blade to restore himself partially so that he could take over the world, like Bellum, who was sucking up life force of others to gain power. But regardless of how it happened, the Master Sword is clearly broken now. Personally, I think it looks like it was dipped in actual acid, and now most people think we will actually fix the Master Sword somehow, and there's a good chance we will. I mean, it is needed in almost every Zelda game to defeat true evil, and this is where the 3 different Sheikah tribes come in. All of them will actually help Link in restoring the Master Sword back into its original form, together with Zelda of course, because she is the incarnation of Hylia and is also required in this whole process. But how, you might wonder? Well, for this, we will have to go back thousands upon thousands of years to the time when the Master Sword was actually made, because this will most likely become relevant again in Tears of the Kingdom. Now, back during the era of the sky, which takes place right after the conflict with the great demon king Demise, who was beaten and sealed away by the goddess Hylia, her chosen people, the Hylians, were sent up into the sky so that they would survive the whole conflict. And yeah, any other races were screwed. It's a bit hard, but it is what it is. Now, during this time, the Master Sword was known as the Goddess Sword, and rested in Skyloft, a floating island above the clouds, and inside of it is an intelligent humanoid spirit known as Vi, who would have guided the chosen hero to forging it into the ultimate weapon to defeat evil, as well as a key to open the gates of time. Now, in order to turn it into the now legendary Master Sword, Impa told the Link from that era to seek out the 3 sacred flames and purify the sword into their heat. And each time Link bathes the Goddess Sword in one of the flames, the sword is empowered and is physically altered. The Flame of Nehru transformed the blade and expanded Vi's powers, allowing her to use the dowsing ability. The Flame of Feyror improved the sword itself, making it longer and sharp enough to do twice as much damage. While the last sacred flame, Din's Flame, imbued the blade with a divine power that repels evil and revealed its true form as the Master Sword. And each step of the way, these flames also powered up the blade with something known as force. This is something that is mentioned in some of the games, but if you look at the Japanese translations, you will figure out it's a recurring theme. This force is a bit like yin and yang. It represents life force or some sort of holy magic. It is powerful magic that opposes evil seen in the series, and so it was key in making the Master Sword effective against evil. For example, in Four Swords Adventures, we gather force to return power to repel repel evil to the Force Sword, so clearly it is a divine power that drives back demons. And in Twilight Princess, while not outright stated, both the Master Sword and the light arrows contain this power, as both house the power to banish evil, and as the light spirits created these arrows, it can be inferred that they are beings made of this light and force energy. So in many ways, the Legend of Zelda series has a classic light versus dark theme, with the concept of life energy mixed in. This is something that is mentioned in many games, and another YouTuber known as Zelda Lore actually covered it all really well. Now after this, the sword had to be blessed by Zelda, the mortal reincarnation of Hylia, to become the true Master Sword, and once blessed, it possesses the light force, turning it into its final form, where its damage is pushed to the max. This is how the Master Sword was made, and it could be that these events will play out once again in Breath of the Wild sequel. On Twitter, Nintendo of Japan even released promotional material showing off the history of the Master Sword, so that shows it will be important. And I think the 3 Sheikah tribes that I mentioned before in this video will play a big role in restoring the broken blade to its old form, where it can destroy Ganondorf once again. Each of the Sheikah tribes represents one of the triforce pieces after all, so maybe they can recreate the flames, know where they are, or can just power up the sword using their special magic. The Yiga for Din, the Sheikah for Nehru, and the Zonai for Feyror. However, how would this go in the game? Well, Nintendo actually released some material that could give us an idea of what will happen. In screenshots shown off by Nintendo, you can see Link on a sky platform with some sort of glowing ball close to him, and I think this will be connected to the quest of fixing the Master Sword, and maybe this is even one of the flames or something similar to it, which will be used to restore the weapon, and we will have to collect them all in order to defeat Ganondorf. Now aside from this, we know very little. In general, we don't know much about this game. Sure, we got a couple of trailers and one gameplay showcase, but to be honest, that isn't a whole lot. Especially compared to what we got for Breath of the Wild. I mean, there we had the whole Great Plateau demo. However, we can be quite certain that the Master Sword will be repaired, and I think these 3 Sheikah tribes, the Zonai, Kakariko Sheikah, and Yiga, will play a big role in this. Now, as you can imagine, 2 of them will most likely help Link willingly. Maybe they will test him a bit, but at the end of the day, they want to defeat Ganon after all, just like Link. However, the Yiga might be a problem, to be honest. I expect them to be villains in the game, and so they will not help Link. So how would this be solved in-game? Well, as you can imagine, there are multiple ways of approaching this. For example, storm their stronghold and try to take what is needed by force. However, this might be hard. We can see that Ganondorf's army is massive, and in the most recent trailer, he even has a massive dragon in his army. And with Ganondorf's return and initial attack on Hyrule, the people can't bounce back from this fast enough and build an army to take out the Yiga. So personally, I expect another stealth mission like we saw in Breath of the Wild, but with much higher stakes. I mean, the last time around, the Yiga were on the back foot, and that isn't the case this time, because their master is finally back. However, I could be wrong about this. In the end, we will have to wait and see what actually happens in the game. But now you at least know the story behind the red, blue, and green seen in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. There is actually a 3rd Sheikah tribe, and I bet they will play a massive role in saving the world, just like they have done so many times before, from Skyward Sword to Ocarina of Time. But be sure to let me know in the comments down below what you think, and check out some of my other videos. They're pretty good. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. This was a very long one. I'm gonna try more long form content. I can see a bit of a shift on YouTube as a platform with you either go shorts or you go long form content. So I'm gonna try and do more long form content. I'm also gonna calm a bit down in voiceovers and make it a bit more relaxing, ASMR-esque. Let me know what you think about it. Give me some feedback. I'd love it in the comment section and stuff. And then I'll see you all in the next video. And also video ideas for Tears of the Kingdom. Let me know and I'll do it. Yay. Alright, bye.